with a health and stable condition. The Honorable Head of Accounting Department, Professor Dr. Eko Suyono, the Honorable Chairman of this committee, Dr. Poppy Dian Indira Kusuma, and also our outstanding speaker and participant. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I'm Divanul Afriani Safa. It gives a pleasure to me to be host in this international online workshop on the topic of the contemporary research in accounting and publication in International Reputable Journal. This international workshop is organized by Accounting Department, Faculty of Economic and Business Jenderal Sudirman University with the aim of providing knowledge related to contemporary research in the field of accounting. In addition, this activity is also held to motivate students and lecturers to conduct research and carry out scientific publication at the international level. As an institution with a mission to provide quality accounting education to produce graduates with the characters, competitiveness, and global insight, the holding in this international workshop is the manifestation of the institution commitment to realizing the state's mission. So, before we go to the main session, let me tell you how this workshop will run. And here is the rundown. The first one, opening by MC. The second, listening our Indonesian national anthem. The third, greeting from the chairman of this committee. And the next, presentation from Professor Omar Al-Farooque. The fifth, presentation from Professor Dr. Eko Suyono. And the next, question and answer session. And the next is about group photo session. And for the last, we have the closing session. Ladies and gentlemen, in this occasion, we have the two speakers. The first one, Associate Professor of Accounting, Omar Al-Farooque from University of New England Business School, Australia. And the second, we have Professor Dr. Eko Suyono from Accounting Department, Faculty of Economic and Business, Jenderal Sudirman University. Moving to our next agenda, national anthem. Please, for the operation, play the video. Okay, thank you for the operator for the play our national anthem. So for the next agenda, we have warm welcoming speech from Dr. Poppy Dian Indara Kusuma as the chairman of this committee. For Dr. Poppy, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Is my voice clear?
Yeah, Bu, it's audible and
Okay,
clear.
thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending wherever you are now. On behalf of the committee, we would like to extend our gratitude that you are joining this online workshop and welcome to our campus virtually. Special thanks to our speakers, our distinguished speakers, Professor Omar Al-Farooque from University of New England, Australia, and then Professor Suyono from Jenderal Sudirman University for allocating time to this workshop. We do appreciate it. Well, actually, Prof. Omar Al-Farooque will be joining late. It is because of the time difference. He will be joining after the Duhur prayer, inshallah. We would also like to recognize the attendance of our colleagues and then our students, all participants. Thank you very much for joining. This workshop is organized by Accounting Department, Jenderal Sudirman University. It is reported that more than 300 participants registered to this workshop. The participants come from Indonesia and also outside Indonesia. Some participants have already joined, but I do hope that some others will be joining soon. The topic we raise is about contemporary research in accounting and publication in reputable journals. The reason behind the topic selection was because research is part of the lives of students and lecturers. I would say that our research work will definitely shape our future. For example, undergraduate students and also postgraduate students must complete their research project as part of the graduation requirements. And as lecturer, of course, we must have publication to advance our career. So therefore, it is a great honor to have Professor Omar and also Professor Eko to share their opinion and also perspective toward the current issues in accounting research. For your information, both speakers have outstanding track in research and publications. For example, Professor Omar has more than 40 documents in Scopus. So we are looking forward to learning many things from both of you. And if there is any chance, we also expect to have future collaboration with Professor Omar, such as joint research, joint publication, and the like. Well, I think that's pretty much all for me. Finally, have a happy workshop, everyone. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Poppy. That was such a great welcoming speech and give us the pleasure, also motivation to attend and enjoy this workshop. So, ladies and gentlemen, we already come to our main session agenda. Let me introduce about the moderator through his brief CV. So, for the operator, please give us the screen. Okay, so for this moderator today, we have Mr. Ascaryan Rafinda in our session today. Mr. Ascaryan Rafinda, S.A. M.Sc, AK, Ph.D. His education has graduated in a Bachelor in Accounting, Universitas Jenderal Sudirman, and he has graduated from Master of Science in Accounting, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and for the last, he has graduated from Ph.D. Management and Business, University of Debrecen, Hungary. So he is affiliate in the accounting department, Universitas Jenderal Sudirman, and also as an editor-in-chief SAR, Sudirman Accounting Review, in the Journal of Accounting and Business. He has also interest in the personal finance and also investment decision and also household finance, and the next is about financial education, and for the last, his interest in business development. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, now allow me to welcome Mr. Ascaryan Rafinda, and the screen is yours. And please welcome Mr. Ascaryan Rafinda.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Diva, for the time and the invitation here. It's an honor for me to be a moderator in this international workshop. So today we will have 2 hours for the main session. 1.5 hours will be a presentation from the 2 speakers. So the first will be, I think we're still waiting for the associate professor, Dr. Omar Farooque. So the first session will be come to the professor, Dr. Suyono. And could you please help me to share the brief CV of our head accounting department? So it will be 30 minutes presentation from Professor Dr. Suyono. Okay, so he was alumni of a doctoral degree in accounting from Pajajaran University and sandwich program for PhD student in University New England Business School Australia. And now he affiliated as a head of accounting department Universitas Jenderal Sudirman and also PAK national team or assessor for the national teams. And the interest of the Professor Eko is financial reporting, earning management and earning quality, auditing, corporate social responsibility, and accounting information system. He has a lot of publication in Scopus and also other reputable indexed journal. So we would love to hear and learn a lot from Professor Eko. So now we invite Professor Eko to share the screen and share the presentation. Professor Eko.
Okay, wait.
Okay, perfect. The
Who
time is
will
yours.
share the screen? Me or?
Which one you prefer? You want to share your screen or you need our
Wait,
committee?
wait. So this one, you got this? Available
Yeah,
already?
yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, the PowerPoint is good. Thank you.
So now time for me, Pak Rian.
Yeah, Professor Eko, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. And basically for today international workshop or seminar, the main speaker would be Prof. Omar Al-Farooque. Yeah. I said to him, Professor, because yeah, even though in Australia he is still associate, because maybe we can imagine how tough is the process to be a full professor in Australia. You can imagine that he with more than around 41 publication in the Scopus with 15 high index, still not considered as full professor there. But basically, he got professorship, for example, from Shandong University in China, yeah, and also University of Bangladesh in Dhaka. So I always call him professor as well, even though officially in the University of New England, he is associate. And I also learned much from him when I was joined for my PhD completion in 2009 up to the beginning of 2010. I was in the University of New England for thesis completion, and by the time I learned much about how to publish in the international journal from him, how to create an idea, how to for example, give response if there is feedback from the reviewers or editors. So I got too much from him, and until now I am keeping collaboration with him in terms of publication. And so meanwhile waiting for his attendance, because maybe this time in Australia is around 12 up to 48 because we are left behind around 4 hours, and Zuhur time there is maybe close to 1 p.m. So he told me that he will be joining after pray, maybe, yeah. But basically the first speaker is Prof. Omar, because he is also the associate editor for the Accounting Research Journal, yeah, one of the reputable international journal under the Emerald publisher, yeah. And I have experienced one publication with him on the journal, and this one takes around 2 years for publication and free of charge. Yeah, so this one is quite interesting actually to get much insights from him after he joined. Okay, so meanwhile waiting him, so I can serve as the first, yeah, Pak Rian, yeah.
Prof. Eko, Professor Umar already joined. Would you want still the first or want to change?
Yeah,
or
okay. Welcome, Prof. Omar.
Thank you very much, Iko.
Oh yeah, okay. How are you? Very long time. I didn't meet
Yeah,
you.
I'm good. Alhamdulillah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay,
just
okay.
returned to Australia from Bangladesh.
Oh, from Bangladesh. And you said before you got a sabbatical in Bangkok, yeah?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to Bangkok and then to Dhaka. Yeah.
Okay. And actually, you are the first speaker, Prof. Omar, and now time is for you. And
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
we already started by very ceremonial opening for this program.
Yeah. Okay. So now who can share the slide? Shall I?
Yeah, you can.
yes, if you want to share this screen, Professor Omar, you can share it.
Okay. Thank you. So can you see the slide?
Yeah, clearly I can see it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. First of all, I like to thank the university and the department there. That means your university to invite me to make a presentation in this seminar, or you can say workshop. So the topic is contemporary research in accounting and publication in reputable international journals. So it has two different parts, and I like to discuss first regarding research in accounting, and then we'll provide some tips how to publish in international uh, journals. But these two topics are interrelated, because if you don't do research, there is no question about to publish. Okay, first of all, we need to do research. Okay, now the question is, why do we do research? Okay, and what is research? So broadly, research is creating something new or contributory to knowledge. I think since the civilization started, I think human beings have been trying to discover new things, new ideas, new discovery. Okay, and this is obvious. As a rational human being, we do something uh, systematically, and that may create interest to others. Okay, so that's how we come up with doing things. And as an academic or educator, we do our teaching. Okay, so in addition to that, we must do our research. But is that sufficient? Being a lecturer or a professor, uh, is it sufficient to conduct research just for the sake of research? Because I'm employed in a university, so I have to do research. I think that's not the case. Okay, that's part of the story. An academic or employee, you are given some opportunity to conduct a research. But research is more broader. First of all, you need to think about your interest. Okay, if you don't have sufficient interest in doing research, then mere doing research will not bring something worthy, okay, something contributory to literature. So that's why research is defined as like creating knowledge, okay, knowledge for the mankind, okay, knowledge for the country, for the world, for the society where we live. So that's why we can say that research should have 5 core criteria. So you can see here, I mentioned 5 criteria, and then some of them are self-explanatory. First of all, our research must be a novel one. Okay, so what I mean by novel is we need to find some new findings. Okay, so without the new findings or discovery, in fact, we are not uh, adding any value, okay, to existing knowledge. So therefore, in any research, our first aim should be to find something not known yet, okay, by the stakeholders broadly. What I mean stakeholders is there are different uh, types of participants, okay, maybe the educators, researchers, government agencies, and so on and so forth. Okay, and secondly, research must be creative. Okay, so that means what you are doing, you are proposing some brilliant ideas. Okay, maybe no one knows those ideas yet, and your idea must be the original one. However, there are different ways of conceptualizing those ideas. So I'll go there a little bit later. So from the ideas, you can create your concepts, okay? Uh, what you are going to do uh, in research, and then you put forward your hypothesis, the hypothesis that you are going to test. That means through analysis, there may be different types of analysis. So we'll discuss those techniques a little bit later. But basically, we uh, originate some concepts, some ideas, and then propose some hypotheses, and then test those hypotheses using different techniques. Okay.
Sorry, Professor, for interrupting. Is it possible to share the full screen of the PowerPoint?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so it will be clear for everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Can you see now properly?
Perfect.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
okay. Good. So now the third criteria is uncertainty. Okay, because there is no guarantee that you will find something interesting, something contributory. That means your final outcome may not be the one you are expecting for. So that is the risk in doing research. Okay, so there are researches where you can't find your expected findings or the outcomes. In that case, sometimes we may be frustrated, okay, to some extent, but that's not the case. I think we need to make our effort, even though in some research you may not find expected findings. So with that uncertainty, you need to be motivated, okay, to continue your research, okay. Maybe one research may not provide a fruitful result, but you go forward with another idea, okay. And sometimes you may come back to your previous idea and then make something uh, differently, okay, to get a fruitful result. And then the third criteria is systematic. Okay, you need to be systematic. Okay, research needs some process to follow, and it must be in a proper way. And I'll discuss them elaborately a little bit later. And sometimes research need, budget. Okay, we know we apply for grants, external funds. Okay, because research cannot be done, free of cost. Okay, it needs some, data. For example, you need some assistance, okay, from other researchers or collaborators, okay, who can help you. So at least you need some budget. Okay, and nowadays it's very important to have, different accounting and finance database. Okay, so and if you need to subscribe, then your department or university must pay for them. So they must have a budget, okay, for the institution as well as for the individual when you do our own research. And then final one is reproducible. Okay, so the findings, the results we produce, it must be reproduced by other researchers if they use the same data that we use in my research or our research. Okay, so that means we need to be transparent, okay, in our uh, research so that other people can be engaged in similar research and then find similar sort of results. Okay, so that's how we can see in research people can replicate and add value, okay, to a particular research. It's not that research is static. So it's a continuous process. Okay, someone produce something and then we extend it further, we add value to the existing research, and that's how we contribute. So with these four criteria in mind, now we can see that any research should have, different types of inputs and outputs. Okay, so we talk about a research or a particular research project, and then it elaborates in a different ways. Here in this chart you can see it aim to produce scholarly output. Okay, so there's the ultimate aim. Whatever you do from your research, you need some output. Okay, and that is creating a new knowledge, what we call here scholarly output. Otherwise it has no value. Okay, or it can't be offered to others. Okay, but I mentioned about conducting a particular project, and in this case you can see the grant or external funding. Okay, in some cases we also consider internal funding within the department or the university. However, any source of funding is also important. Okay, and your input will be produced by using those, funding. Okay, you hire assistant, for example, you subscribe databases, then maybe you subscribe, different statistical software. So those are essential part of research. Okay, even in qualitative research we also have some softwares nowadays, okay, that we need to uh, apply, okay, to conduct our research. So with those inputs, okay, in your hand, when you conduct research and then you produce some output, then nowadays that is not the sufficient. Okay, so we need to go further. Okay, nowadays what we see, you need not only the research output, but also the research impact and engagement. That means what implication you are making with your research findings. That is very important. And almost in all developed countries, as well as some emerging economies like Indonesia, I think universities now also looking for some impact and engagement. What I mean by impact is what is the implication of your research funding for the industry, for the society, or how you are engaged in your community or society, okay, to bring your research visible and then to make it useful to the target audience or stakeholders, okay, in general. So I mentioned there may be different types of stakeholders in a particular community or society. So we need to be conscious about our target audience of the research. So that's why nowadays, in addition to the research output or findings, we also put special value to the impact and engagement of our research. And then you can spread your research in different media, okay, not only the traditional media. Now we have the age of social media, okay. You can use those social media platforms, okay, to disseminate your research, okay, so that people can see what you are doing, and you can make collaboration. Some of them, if they're interested, they will contact you, okay. And that's how we can be more productive, okay, in our research. Okay, now the question here is how we can generate ideas. Okay, so there are different ways of generating ideas. Like for scientific discovery, I think we need to have inquisitive mind. Okay, so we can remember just one example, Isaac Newton's, apple fall from a tree, and then that creates an inquisitive mind in Newton's and generate the law of universal gravity or gravitation. Okay, so an inquisitive mind should be a mind of a solid researcher. Okay, see, always you need to think, okay, what you are going to do next in your research, okay, and why you are doing that, and what other people are doing. That is also very important, and that's why literature review is part of the story here. When you see some people are doing something interesting, then you also can think about how can you add value, okay, to that ideas, okay, and then you can do something better than those that already have in the literature. So that's why I think we need to be open mind always. Okay, so with an inquisitive mind, and then through the review of different literature, okay, or different social media platforms, we can easily generate interesting ideas for our research. And also from our teaching platforms, we can also do some research. Okay, so it's not that research is always something outside your teaching areas. In some cases, we can do research in our teaching areas. In fact, it would be more contributory in your teaching and research if you do something similar, okay, in your teaching platform as well as in your research platform. Okay, so when we can generate ideas, then the question may arise, how can we produce something to get the findings or the expected result? And at that stage, we need different sources of data. Okay, so data can be secondary data, can be primary data. Okay, if you are interested in qualitative research. Okay, so I'll discuss those soon. But data can be generated through different ways. If you are interested in using secondary data, then I think existing databases are available. You need to subscribe them. Or if you generate primary data, you develop your own questionnaire or survey material, or even you can go for a case study. Okay, so there are different ways of collecting primary data, okay, if you are interested in using primary data. But nowadays, I think researchers, they use mixed method. Okay, so the method here I just mentioned, quantitative or empirical method, which includes some statistical or econometric application. Okay, so that is very popular, but we are not discarding the qualitative research that also have value in the in the research community. Okay, and those qualitative research can be done through questionnaire survey or interview or maybe focus group investigation. Okay, so there are different ways of doing qualitative research, but mixed method is also commonly acceptable nowadays. Okay, you can do both. Okay, and in that case, I think we have different types of both qualitative and quantitative softwares available. Okay, so we need to be aware about those to learn how to conduct these type of research using qualitative or quantitative methods. And here in this slide, finally, we need to keep in mind that research I mentioned is a continuous process. So we need to be aware about our professional development. Okay, so that means learning has no limit. Even though we have knowledge about literature and data and the methods, but it's not ending there. Okay, so there are new ideas coming up, new softwares coming up. Okay, or new uh, papers or theses, or even if you attend some conferences, you get more knowledge there. So continuous professional development is very important for a researcher like us. Okay, so far I discussed about some elements that is needed for a particular researcher. But I think we also consider collaborative research. Okay, because without collaboration, it's hardly possible you can produce, many research papers in a particular year. Okay, so with building a research team, okay, within your faculty or your university, or maybe in other universities in the overseas countries, you can produce more. Okay, and it's not necessary you need to do everything by yourself in a particular research project. Okay, through collaboration, you can do better in your area of confidence, area of specialization. Okay, for example, you can do econometric analysis better than others. So then you can rely on that. And then other researchers may do something else, for example, literature review, okay, or other part of the research project. So that's how we can segregate the responsibility through collaborative research. However, a research culture is important, okay, within the department, within the faculty or the institution, okay, because research culture is very important in a changing environment. Okay, nowadays we are living in a information highway. Lots of information we gather from different sources, not necessarily from the academic sources or library or the literature. There are some other platforms, as I mentioned, formal and informal medias, including the social media. So those can help us, to build a research culture and produce excellent research, okay, in an organizational setting. However, we do have limitation in different institutions and in different countries, okay, to get access to uh, technology, for example, or the databases or the resources, for example, monetary contribution. But creating an environment or making an effort is very important. I think I mentioned it's a continuous journey. Research is endless. Okay, throughout our career, we will continue research. Okay, so this continuation here, I think four things are important. Some of them I already mentioned. Okay, so in this slide, you can see idea. I already discussed about that, and then data, and then method. So these are also discussed. And then here, the fourth thing, which is important, is communication. Okay, so the use of technology nowadays, it's very convenient to communicate, okay, with others, okay, around the world, okay, within a few minutes. That is possible. But think about 20 or 30 years ago, it was very hard.
Video camera, please select another video camera setting. Nah, ini Pak.
So it was very hard at that time, okay, to communicate other
Matas.
researchers. But nowadays, we have that flexibility, we have that, benefit. So we need to use our communication channels properly. That's why I mentioned collaboration nowadays is very easy to form, okay? So you can contact other researchers around the world in your area of interest, and then you can create a research team, okay? And also you can create similar research culture within your department or faculty. Okay, so in collaboration, why it is important? Because as an individual, how many projects you can adopt at one point of time, or for example, in a year? Not many, but with the collaboration, you can do more. Okay, so that's why here you can see how many vehicles or projects can you drive at once? Not many. If you do everything by yourself, then you may end up one or two project maximum. Okay, but if you go through collaboration with other researchers, okay, around your university, your country, or overseas universities, then in some projects you can be the core researcher, or in other words, chief investigator, while in other projects you can be a co-supervisor, okay, or co-researcher, okay. What I say here, passenger, okay, in a car. So but there are some risk in the collaborative research, okay. So if you have a big team, sometimes you may find some free riders, okay. Somebody is not contributing much but still getting the benefit from the research, where you are making all your effort, okay, you are hard working there, but you are not getting the full outcome because of inactiveness of some of the collaborators. So that's why we need to be conscious about any collaborators who intends to be a free rider, okay. So we need to avoid them, in fact, okay. And then some research, you can drive it rapidly, okay. It's like in a highway, there are different lanes, okay. In some lanes, high-speed cars can go. So your research also like this. Some research can go very fast, while others you can run them slowly, okay. So depending on your resources available, depending on your other commitments, okay. Even some of the research projects may stay in your drawer for some time. Maybe you may not have sufficient time, or those research are not in your priority list nowadays, okay, or in the current period. So you can keep them in your drawer so that you can go back when you have free time, or when you already completed your priority research works. So that's how there are different ways of running your research projects if you have multiple projects. And in this case, I prefer collaboration, because with collaboration you can do better, okay, than what you can do as an individual researcher. Okay, so in collaboration, I already mentioned it can be internal collaboration or external within your university or outside university, or even outside your boundary of the country, okay? Because in collaboration, I mentioned there is a risk of free riding, but we need to make sure that there are sufficient incentives for each collaborators, okay, in a particular research project, okay? So that's why we need to balance everyone's incentive. Okay, and then we start research, okay. And here I just mentioned some of the ways, but I will discuss them in detail a little bit later, okay. When you start a collaborative research, what we go for an idea first, and then provide a title, okay, and then make an outline, okay, what we are going to do. So what we do, or how we prepare, we go for literature review and then theory and then data, method, results. So these are known to all of you because all of you are engaged in research. Okay, so anyway, I'll discuss them in the next part of my discussion. Okay, then we go for first draft of the research, and then we send for peer review or feedback or professional editing, and then we present our research in a seminar or a conference, and then get feedback. And after that, we submit to a journal. Okay, and either we get revision and resubmit, or and then publish, or we get rejection. Okay, so don't be disheartened if you have, you know, rejection one after another. Okay, you don't know where you end up. Okay, sometimes the rejection may create frustration in a researcher's mind, but think about the any rejection can motivate you to go further. Okay, to search for uh, other journals which is similar to the one you got rejected. So I think uh, rejection should not be a demotivating factor. Okay, uh, so when we do continuous research. Okay, so with these in mind, for a researcher in a collaborative research environment, now I like to highlight some of the, you know, contemporary research areas, okay, around the world, which is very important for us to consider. Okay, so if you can see the headings I mentioned about climate or sustainability, and it has some other names, so you can substitute them if you like. Okay, so there are different names of sustainability, including the uh, SDGs of the United Nations. So what is important here is climate related research, okay, is becoming dominant in accounting research. In fact, it's not only in accounting research, in other areas as well. Okay, so climate related research will dominate, you know, our future. Okay, maybe another decade or so. So what we see here from the last decade, we are moving forward from environmental accounting to ecological accounting, and it's a very broad area nowadays. Okay, and you may be aware about the COP26 conference in Glasgow, I think 2 years ago, and one of the milestone for that conference is that the regulatory bodies came up with the uh, decision, okay, to form International Sustainability Standard Board, and then to formulate accounting standard for climate disclosure. Okay, so as an accounting educator, we know we have accounting this standard to prepare our financial statements. Okay, but nowhere in the financial statements you'll see the element of climate disclosure. But in future, accounting disclosure will be much broader. That will include climate disclosure. So maybe in 5-10 years time, you'll see more research in climate disclosure, and that will be part of our accounting research. Okay, so in addition to that, you'll see the priority of the United Nations for all the countries, especially the developing and the emerging countries, okay, to pursue sustainability related activities. Okay, so what we call them SDGs. Okay, so there are 17 sustainability development goals of the UN, and most of the countries signed to pursue those goals, okay, at a macro level as well as micro level. I think as a university, we also have responsibility, okay, to pursue some of those goals, if not all. Okay, those are relevant to the institutions. I think accounting also serve the society. So that's why I think accounting also involves some of the research, okay, in near future. And if you search the literature, you'll see already there are plenty of research in accounting relating to sustainability development goals of the United Nations. So this is, I think, will dominate our research area, not only in accounting, but also in other field for some time in the near future. Another important area in accounting auditing, we know accounting is integrated with auditing. Okay, it's not only the accounting research or disclosure only, but it needs some proper, monitoring, okay, guidance through the audit system. So nowadays you'll see the application of key audit matters. There are different names in different countries, but in general we call it key audit matters. That means a new format of accounting and auditing, in particular auditing report, okay, which already implemented in different jurisdictions. Okay, so I just mentioned different names in different countries here because they are the pioneer of developing this type of new audit report. Okay, and through my involvement in at least one accounting journals, I can see more research in this field. And also I am a reviewer of other journals, and I find so many interest, okay, of researchers in doing research in this area. Okay, so that's why I think key audit matters will also become a new accounting and auditing research area. So you can also think about if you have interest in audit related research, okay, including audit disclosure, audit report, okay, and then the responsibility and then the task of an auditor, okay, when they perform their role as an auditor. So that's why I think this is very important for us to consider. In addition to that, financial accounting related audit task, I think another type of audit is also becoming very evident, okay, nowadays, and this is part of sustainability effort or activities, and we call it social auditing. So social auditing can be in different social areas. Okay, for example, it can be in our gender pay gap. Okay, in some countries this is very severe. Okay, so we do same research, okay, but you will observe the male employee may get higher salary than the female employee. Okay, so such disparity should not stay, okay, in a civilized society. Okay, so that's why you'll see there are different social issues, okay, that we can consider as our research topic. Okay, and that should be part of our social auditing. Okay, that means how we can achieve different types of social sustainability. Okay, mainly in social areas. I already mentioned some of them. There are lots. The list is very big. I just mentioned some of them: labor relation, human rights, supply chain sustainability. So if you have interest in social issues, then I think this is another way of doing research. Okay, and in most of the cases, this can be, a qualitative research. Okay, or if you are more interested in quantitative research, then you can go for data collection. Okay, in different ways, or nowadays there are different, national and international organizations who can gather data, and you can use those publicly available data. Okay, the next one is at a corporate level, we can see some importance of, personal characteristics, okay, of the top executives like CEOs, CFOs, board members, okay, and then some influence of the other aspects, and those aspects may be related to the organization or the country itself. Okay, for example, culture of a country, very important, okay, to consider. For example, family involvement in business. Okay, so we'll see more family related business in developing countries or emerging countries, okay, than in developed economies. Or political connection, very important for third world countries, okay, or countries like China. Okay, political connection is very important, and we can see lots of research in these areas. Okay, so everyone is trying to provide some new findings, okay, in respect to personal characteristics of the top executives of the company, as well as country related aspects. Okay, I already mentioned about gender. Okay, nowadays gender is a big issue, and it is part of the diversity. Okay, so in case of board of directors or in case of top executives, we can see the relevance of gender nowadays. Okay, so in some cases, there are research findings that you know uh, female executives may perform better than the male executives in certain areas. For example, in CSR, okay, in sustainability, okay, or in avoiding risk. However, what I like to mention here is some of the top areas of corporate level research, okay, concentrates on these areas. Okay, uh, like if you look for the CEO or CFO's characteristics, then what you see, recent research is focusing on overconfidence of the top executives. Okay, or the narcissism, marital status, okay, education, experience. So all these things do matter, okay, for a particular executives who are engaged in decision making. Okay, so we can think about these type of areas for our accounting research. Okay, and then I already mentioned various institutional and country related features are also part of it. Okay, sometimes, for example, board diversity, very popular area of research nowadays. Okay, there are different types of diversity, not only gender, okay, but also, for example, uh, educational diversity, ethnic diversity. Okay, for example, uh, experience related diversity. Okay, all those things are becoming the focus of our research in corporate field. Okay, I think this is the last one. And this is disruptive technology. I just mentioned we are in the age of technology, changing environment, okay, information highway. So that you'll see that there are different technologies are developing, okay, every now and then, and we call it broadly as disruptive technology. Okay, so these technologies can have an impact in your uh, teaching, in your research, in your business. Okay, and nowadays the artificial intelligence are knocking at our door. Okay, in our teaching areas, in our research areas. Okay, so we can see the importance of these disruptive technology or artificial intelligence, and accounting cannot stay far away from these technological development. Okay, so we need to embrace those technologies in our accounting research as well as in our accounting teaching. Okay, so you can see some other ideas. Basically, in finance, we can see uh, the blockchain technology, fintech, okay, ecosystem, data mining. Those are also becoming more popular basically in finance areas. But remember, accounting finance are more integrated nowadays than they were 20 years ago. So when I consider accounting research, it's not purely accounting. You can see uh, finance and economics are also integrated, okay, or maybe in other areas of business also integrated in the same research project. Okay, and lately I think you all are aware about the disruptive technology which you call chat GPT. Okay, so surely it will influence our teaching and research. Okay, so in near future. Okay, so there are lots of discussion in my university how to embrace chat GPT, how to face the challenge that is exposed to us, in particular in our teaching and in our research. Okay, in the teaching part, okay, we need proper assessment of our students, so we need to be careful about the use of chat GPT by our students. Okay, that we don't want in particular, because if you are using an existing technology and produce something, that's not your own work. Okay, so that's why we need to distinguish what is innovative that we can produce, okay, in our research, okay, in our um, education and teaching, and same applies to our students also. So that's why this is another area I think that this will dominate our future. Okay, so how long we are alive, I think you will see uh, these type of disruptive technology will evolve. Okay, and that will impact uh, in our research as well as in our teaching. I think there's the four prime areas I could say are very important for accounting research. Okay, now second part of my presentation, okay, for your consideration is how we can publish in a reputable uh, academic journals. So there are some tips here, okay, for all of us. Okay, because I mentioned learning is endless. I am also learning, okay, every day, okay, from my students, from my fellow colleagues or collaborators, researchers. Okay, so that's why we follow a process I mentioned in doing research. Okay, so first thing is when you generate an idea, then how you prepare uh, or how you display your idea. Okay, so mechanically we start with writing something, isn't it? So you start writing something, that means what is your research question, what is the problem you are trying to solve, or what's the issue is important in your research. So that's very important. Once we consider a particular issue, then the next question may arise, why I'm doing this, what is the motivation behind this. Okay, and then after doing research, you end up with findings and contributions. That's fine, but in your writings, in particular in the introductory sections, we need these four things. Okay, briefly. Okay, not that you will elaborate everything in your introduction section, but these are the uh, prime, I think, points, or in other words, the bullet points, I can say, that we need to put in the introduction section of our research paper. Okay, so because the editors basically they look at the abstract and the introduction and the conclusion. Okay, so those three parts are their main focus initially. So if that creates an interest to the editors, then they go you know in other sections of the paper. Okay, so that means you need to create an attraction to the editors or the audience here, the editor and the reviewer. Okay, in your interaction section. Okay, in addition to your abstract. Okay, abstract also part of the paper, but I think we are discussing here the main body of the paper. So in the interaction, we need to consider these bullet points. Okay, then theory, background. In some cases, you don't need any theory or literature, just background is sufficient. Why you are doing this search, okay? What is the social perspectives or economic perspective? That is also sufficient. So it varies depending on your research idea or research project, okay? So later on, you develop some hypothesis if relevant, okay? Not necessarily all research projects should have a hypothesis development section. No, not necessarily. Okay, and next you go for data. Okay, what type of data you need? or sample, you need to determine your sample size or data size. If it is a secondary data, you need to consider the years you are considering, okay, in your data. And then the method you are going to apply, again, depends on what type of data you are using, okay? So it can be qualitative and quantitative method, as I mentioned before. Then we analyze the result, okay, and go for discussion and conclusion of the paper. But what is important here is, in the introduction section, I just referred about motivation. So now you can see here motivation. What can motivate you? Through your inquisitive mind or literature review, you need to find a gap in the literature where you can contribute, okay? So it can be first research, okay, in this particular area or in this particular setting, okay? Sometimes you may find something not done yet in a particular country or in a particular field, so that is sufficient to be a motivating factor. So what sort of gap you research? To the reviewers, to the editors. So careful. I think this structure is mentioned earlier. Okay, now when you are sitting your research, that means your draft, it can be your final draft later on. Okay, so you start first draft and then through other processes I just mentioned here, you go further. Okay, so your first draft, when it is ready, I think we send it for some peer review. Okay, so if it is a collaborative research, then it is easy. Okay, easy to go for peer review. So every researcher within the team can review the paper, or you can send it to your colleagues, okay, who is not the part of your research team. So once you get peer review and then feedback, then you can later is referencing, okay, because ultimately you are going to submit to a journal. So we must follow the referencing system of that particular journal, okay, and we do it accurately. Okay, some editors, they just sometimes they go to the reference list first. Okay, if they see something different from the journal, then they may think this is maybe submitted initially in other journals and then it got rejected there, and then that's why the paper is submitted in the journal without changing the referencing. Okay, so even though you reject it from some journals and you submit to a new journal, but it is important to follow that particular journal's referencing system. Okay, so someone must take that responsibility, okay, on behalf of the team. As I mentioned, team can distribute different works to different researchers. Okay, now the important thing is target journal. Okay, sometimes we have different ranking in different countries. Okay, Scopus is very popular in all over the world, so you should consider uh, the Scopus ranking, okay, in your research. I think ECO can highlight this in Indonesian context. Okay, in Australia we follow first Australia ABC, which makes it Scopus ranking, and then and you can also consider that when go for the selection of journal is very important for us. Okay, uh, because in a particular type of research there are so many journals, okay, similar type of journals we have with similar ranking, but also important, you need to look for those journals editorial board and then editors. Sometimes some editors may not be in the same field, the field you are in or you research are in. So that's a starting point for you whether you are going to send to this journal, because maybe the editor or the co-editors are in a slightly different field, okay, maybe in finance, maybe in marketing, okay, so you need to consider that. So whether you'll send your accounting research related paper to that particular journal, okay, where editors are from different discipline, okay, so those type of consideration you should take into account. uh, and then other important thing is you must cite from that journal when you submit in a particular journal. So in your reference, you must provide some of the literature from that particular journal. Okay, so otherwise that may create question or question from this who are in a particular journal. Okay, sometimes in my own research I this type of query and then a list of literature from the same journal. Okay, so that will create work, okay, because you need to do additional literature review later on if you don't cite some papers from that journal initially when you prepare your final draft. Okay, next is presentation. I mentioned you can present it in seminars and conferences, okay, and then get feedback. So nowadays we have more opportunities. There are so many seminars, online seminars, face-to-face seminars, and then conferences as well, okay, and it becomes, I think, cost effective nowadays through online conferences. You can present your research output, okay, to a broader audience, okay, and then you can disseminate those information and you can get feedback from them, and then you can uh, address those feedback, so that will strengthen your paper, that will improve your paper, okay. And then finally here in this slide, at submittable stage, what I mentioned about professional editing, you can do professional editing at this stage when you are going to submit, okay, to a particular journal. Professional editing is essential nowadays, because when if English is our second language, okay, and you prefer to submit in a English journal, then uh, I think it's essential to go for professional editing. And then I just mentioned here some other points: cohort review by presentation, and then establish presentation target and deadlines. So this is within your own timeline, you can consider them, but these are not obligatory, remember. So these are optional, okay, for your research output at a submittable stage when you are just at the end of your uh, paper to submit to a particular journal, then you can consider these. Okay, now when you submit, that means at the submission stage, there are different ways you can do that. I know some of my colleagues, they write to the editor first, okay? They send the paper to the editor first and then see whether the editor is interested to that particular paper, okay? So this is a good technique, okay? Writing to the editor first, sending the paper, and then citing the contribution of your paper, and then see whether the editor is interested or not. If you see interest, then you can submit it formally, okay? But if you see sometimes editor may provide additional feedback, okay? And then I encourage you to submit to the journal after addressing his or her feedback on the paper, okay? So that will be very helpful, I think, to get published the paper in the same journal if you get initial feedback from the editor, because at this stage, editor assess whether he or she will send it, if the paper is received by the journal, whether he or she will send it for review purpose. Nowadays, you are conscious, we know there are huge desk rejection by the editors, okay, or co-editors. So, so that's the way of, contacting editor and then avoid some of the, desk rejection problem, okay, in your own research. Okay, so now if we go for it, then we can, improve our paper if we get some feedback from the editor. Okay, so think about your journal and then contact the editor and then get additional feedback, and then you'll get the idea whether this journal will be fitted for this paper or research work. Okay, so of course you'll see the mission, vision, and then editorial board or the editors of the journal beforehand, okay, before contacting the editors. Okay, now when you submit the paper, and I consider this is a collaborative paper, okay, in that case, you need to consider the contribution of each of the, researcher, okay, and then accordingly you rank the author ordering. Author ordering is very important, and sometimes, we know conflict may arise in a collaborative research. Okay, so who should be the first and then second and so on up to the last author. Okay, so I think one easy protocol is to follow the alphabetical order. Okay, but this is not the novel one. I think the contribution is important. Okay, so everyone is not contributing at a similar extent. Based on the contribution, I think you can consider the first author, second author, and so on. Okay, so who originated the idea?
Tolong ada yang bocor itu. Tolong ada yang bocor mengganggu.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, okay, so sorry for
Yes, it's
disruption.
clear.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, so that's why I mean here the contribution of the authors is important, okay, to get the order of the authors in a particular research work. Okay, and these are, I already mentioned, reading the journal mission, comply with the journal style, referencing. Okay, so now you'll see the communication is important, and I prefer to communicate the editor beforehand, and at least you'll get some idea, some prevent, okay, about your research, so that you can avoid wasting your time submitting to the journal and then after a few weeks you get rejected. Okay, so you can avoid those time when you contact your editor beforehand. But in your communication, you need to be polite, you need to be generous, okay? You need to highlight your paper's contribution to literature or to the knowledge, okay? And then see how the paper is received by the editor, and accordingly you make, subsequent decision. Okay, so make sure everything is error free. Okay, sometimes you can see some error in the title of the paper, okay, or maybe in the abstract. Okay, so we need to be conscious about these, and I'm not discussing these because this is repetitive. I already mentioned some of them already. Okay, so you need to consider them in your correspondence, in your submission to the journal. Okay, and then later on you may receive a revise and resubmission request from the editor. If it is, then that's very good. Okay, so ultimately the paper will be submitted if you can sufficiently address the reviewers' comments. Okay, otherwise paper may be rejected, and you need to consider to resubmit to another journal. As I mentioned, this is a continuous process, even though at the revision stage, paper may be rejected. Okay, so I have one experience. The paper was rejected after third review. Okay, so when you submit for the fourth time, then it was rejected. Okay, so that's not unusual. That's part of life. Take it easy. Okay, so it may happen in our research or academic career. Okay, but don't be frustrated. Okay, so because there are plenty of other journal outlets available so that you can submit in other journals. Okay, here I think ECHO can provide more information, but from the Australian perspective, I can see these are some of the important journals, okay, where our colleagues publish. Some of them are mentioned, and these are, I think most of them are high ranked journal, okay, in the
Q1.
ABDC or Q1. Yeah, most of them are Q1 or all of them. Yeah, Q1. So you may consider these, but there are lots of other Q1 journals or Scopus journal. You can consider them. Okay, so I'm not going through one by one. Okay, so but these are important or high rank journal in the Asia Pacific region. Okay, so now I think I am near to complete my presentation, but what I mentioned in two parts of my presentation is uh, that research is important, and we do research because we have interest in doing research. Okay, not for the sake of continuing our job as an educator or a teacher. You must have a research interest in mind, with an inclusive mind, so that you can be interested around the world, what's going on, what other people are doing in the accounting field. Okay, what new research they're doing, and how can you add value to those new research. Okay, but impact and engagement also part of our life nowadays. So that's why we need to be uh, proactive in creating impact and engagement, and that's part of the communication. Okay, if you do research but if you don't communicate, then others will not know. So that's why nowadays we have different types of platforms, and using those platforms we can communicate with others, and the world, or the research world at least, may be aware about our research, our output. Okay, so some of them are mentioned here. Google Scholar, very popular. Okay, I think all of us should have Google Scholar. Okay, so that your research will be displayed there, and the citations as well. And then Scopus, and nowadays Orchid is very popular at institutional level. Okay, some institutions make it compulsory for each researcher to have a Orchid ID number. Okay, so that's why whenever you have a new research, that will be uh, displayed in your Orchid site. Okay, and that will also give some benefit to the institutions. If the institutions need to apply for research funding from the federal government or state government, whatever it be, they can use those researchers' profile from the Orchid side. And LinkedIn, another platform nowadays very popular. Okay, I think we should have one if anyone missing it. Okay, so LinkedIn also important to make communication with other researchers, not only in accounting but also in other field. Okay, not only in academia but also in other accounting professions. Okay, auditing professions. And then some other platforms, Web of Science or Publons. Okay, so they're the same company. And then ResearchGate, another popular one nowadays. Okay, so they have some ranking of your research based on your citations, okay, and publications. And there are many more. I just mentioned some of them. Okay, Publish or Perish, another one, and then the Conversation, another one, and finally different types of social media platforms. So I think all of them are useful, okay, to disseminate your research, okay, to the research community around the world, and that will create some impact and engagement with your industry, with your community, okay. However, the discussion we have made, final talk is research is risky. Okay, research is risky, and there is no guarantee that you'll get everything in your own way and you'll be successful in research. But the important thing is we should provide our effort, okay, in our research. Then ultimately we can minimize those research related risks, and we can be successful as a researcher, okay. And finally, here some of the references, if you're interested in, you can check these references, okay. And there are some tips here also in these publications. And the last one is 10 tips from an editor to undertaking academic peer review for journal, okay. So I leave it up to you, okay. So I think that's the end of my presentation, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Omar Farooque, for the great presentation. We already have some question in the chat room, but we have to wait a moment because Professor Eko will have another presentation for maybe 15 minutes, and after that we will jump into the discussion session. Is it okay with that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So Professor Eko, the time is yours. You can present about 15 minutes and then we will jump into discussion.
Okay, thank you so much, Rian. Prof. Omar, there are so many insights we get from your material. And actually, maybe I will be focusing on the side of Indonesian perspective in terms of the international journal, because I'm also one of the team in the, we call PAK for credit for the lecturer who are submitting for the associate or even for the full professor. Rian, am I presenting or somebody will help me?
Yeah, you can present your PowerPoint. So.
Yeah, okay. This one. Yeah. So I can jump to the, yeah, maybe some of those topic already discussed by Prof. Omar clearly. Yeah, so no need for me to repeat. And in terms of the research, actually, because my focus is in the financial accounting, so we are presenting here some topic in the financial accounting, but it's okay. We can go to the slide maybe. Yeah. But accounting literature, no need to discuss more, yeah, because still there are time for discussion. So I will be presenting about the international journal according to the Indonesian perspective. I mean, according to the rule under our government, because it is compulsory actually for teachers who are at least in the associate professor. They have obligation to publish for their mandatory obligation as a lecturer when they submit their responsibility maybe every each semester. Yeah. So I just go to the how to publish. Yeah. Okay, this one. Yeah. You got the PowerPoint, Rian?
Yes, I can see it clearly, sir.
Why we need to publish our paper? Because as Professor Omar said before, that by publishing our paper, it is the way how to disseminate our results. So this one is our endeavor actually to maximize the benefit in order to get maybe beneficial for the community from the result. Yeah. And under the Indonesian Ministry of Higher Education, there are several requirements to be a journal to be considered as an international journal or international reputable journal. We divide or distinguish between both for international only and international reputable. For the international journal, under the Ministry of Higher Education definition, those are journal listed in the international databases, international reputable databases such as Scopus and Web of Science, with the criteria if the SGR or Schema Go journal rank still lower than 0.1, this one is considered as international journal. Meanwhile, if it is more, so this one already considered as the international reputable journal. And in my country, for professorship submission, particularly for the full professor, people should complete around maybe around for research, this one around 450 credits, one of which should be coming from the international reputable journal. Meanwhile, but also for the yearly obligation, also we should submit on such journal as well, both for associate as well as the full professor. So in here we discussed that in terms of language mentioned, like on the Indonesian regulation, it is possible in English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese. So normatively, the regulation only mention those 5 languages. Yeah, but actually there are also additional requirement. For example, the reviewers or the editorial board, yeah, should be at least coming from 4 countries. Yeah, and also from the dissemination of the paper itself, yeah, should be this one broadly accepted around the world, that we can see from the number of citation, because from the citation as well, they will decide the level of the quartile of the journal. Yeah, and then yeah, of course, considering the citation become resource for several scholars. Index it, this one is from rule that should be under Scopus or Web of Science. But for the Web of Science, just take care, because under the Web of Science there are emerging sources citation index and science citation index. So under the Ministry of Higher Education, we consider only paper that already listed on the science citation index, because you know that emerging sources citation index, actually this one is in the process. Yeah, the journal is still in the process to be listed in the Web of Science. After the process is completed, the status would be changed into science citation index. For example, for the social science would be social science citation index. Maybe for the art and humanity would be art and humanity citation index, and etc. So we consider only for the Web of Science the journal which is listed in the science citation index and not in the emerging sources of citation index. Meanwhile, for the Scopus, even though only mention that this one, the SGR or Schema Go journal rank is the normal number of article for each publication, because maybe we can see several journal that normally they already discontinued in the Scopus, they publish monthly. Yeah, even one journal I saw that this type of journal publish a monthly paper, that the number of monthly papers is more than 100 papers. So this one is considered not acceptable, because normally the process of review, the process of dealing with the editor will be not following the minimum standard of requirement to be a scientific journal. So this one also become our concern in the ministry. And then again, beside the acceptable number of publication for each volume, yeah, also there should be additional requirements such as the evidence of review that in our terminology we call as the evidence of corresponding or corresponding evidences from the journal. This one also become so crucial, and we are currently still following the rule of POPAK 2019 and its supplements, but in this year the POPAK 2023 is under process to be developed and maybe would be released on this coming June, and there are so many changes. Yeah, for example, like under our rule currently, we can jump, for example, from assistant ahli in Indonesian terminology, maybe in international terminology, this one equal with junior lecturer or lecturer. Before, under current regulation, we can jump for assistant ahli into lector kepala or from lecturer into associate professor without fire to the or assistant in international terminology. And also from lector, it is possible to jump into professor, but under the new regulation, this one no longer acceptable, no longer permissible. So the one who will be submitting their professorship, even we are in discussion in the discussion that maybe for the not only for the functional, but also jump in terms of the we call golongan. Yeah, for example, from 4A to 4B first, and after that 4C. So we cannot do 4A and jump to 4C. So maybe in this coming, the new rule would be impossible to do. Yeah, but just we are waiting the new PAK that will be, if it is considered on time, would be released on this coming June. Okay, so this one is so crucial for people who are submitting the professorship in Indonesia to consider this thing before they submit a paper to a journal. And as several journal already mentioned by Prof. Omar, of course, those are truly recommended because those are is Q1. But some journal in the level of Q4, for example, or Q3, which are using charge for the author, we are really put concern on this type of journal, because normally for those paid journal they don't give a proper review evidences of review during the submission process. So we are considering maybe several scientific requirement do not follow by the process of the German. So that's why maybe some professor candidate the process is not accepted or rejected, or should they should try to get another type of journal which is meet with the Ministry of Higher Education requirement. Okay, so this one our journal, and to be your paper to be accepted internationally, I can maybe make 3 summary. Number 1, this one considered as international interest, like as Prof. Omar said before, there are so many contemporary topic that we discussed before, and later you can give a question to the Prof. Omar directly, maybe case by case. Yeah. And then after that, also not only local interest, and then the topic is universal, that every country, every single region already has a similar topic. Okay, and how to publish the journal, Prof. Omar also already mentioned that by giving self-motivation, maybe you can read much paper, much scientific articles. So from that one, you can get insight how to publish. And then knowing the focus of the journal also, this one is also very important, because in some case, maybe the rejection because we submitted a paper which is not in line with the focus of the journal. For example, the focus is on CSR, but we are submitting the topic on economic, for example. So this one is not matched with the journal topic. And as Prof. Omar also already mentioned and explained, that the need for international partner, it is better, or collaboration. Even though it is possible that collaboration only in the campus only, inside your faculty, but this one is better if you can make collaboration beyond the boundary of your country, as Prof. Omar said. And we also, I am the student of Prof. Omar during 2009 and the beginning of 2010, and already make collaboration maybe around more than 3 papers here, Prof. Omar. So this one is also very beneficial for us, very beneficial for the institution, because also the rank of the institution would be determined from the number of scientific journal which are published by the lecturer or the professors. And then in terms of Indonesian terminology, maybe there are several journal, accounting research journal, and I'm not mistaken, I saw in the website that Prof. Omar is one of the associate editor of this journal. So you can discuss deep about how to submit this journal. And of course, there is a very tough process actually to submit in this journal. I have experience also in collaboration with Prof. Omar to submit one of my paper in this journal. The process of review, of course, they have very properly review. So when I submitted my professorship, they request me to submit the evidence of review, just finish, no more question about that, because the review process is really convincing. Yeah, the process is so professional. Not only, for example, that we put concern is normally some of the journal, they only, for example, give information that the paper is under the review of the reviewer. After that, there is feedback after 1 or 2 months, and the feedback mentioning only that the paper is already accepted, and of course this type of journal is totally rejected under the Ministry of Higher Education of my professorship, because we submit the evidence of reviews. So this one is the crucial thing in the submission of your professorship in Indonesia. Okay, all are free of charge. Yeah, Journal of Society in Malaysia, Sarawak, yeah, Journal of Environmental Accounting and Management. Also, this one is in the focus of CSR. Also, this one is so suitable for this journal. Yeah, for student, particularly for maybe PhD student in Indonesia, it is still suggested for submit to the quality of access to success, but it is not recommended for you who will submit your professorship in Indonesia, because some part of the requirement of the professorship submission not fulfill for the quality of access to success. College Journal of Management Studies, maybe it is okay. Eurasian Business Review, International Journal of Business and Globalization, African Development Review, and also International Journal of Product Management. These are journals that I have maybe experiencing to submit a paper, or maybe I am one of the viewer of this journal. And then yeah, for I have partner to submit, for example, proofread. Yeah, also maybe Prof. Omar also has many reference, yeah, for the native proofreader, but normally I do proofread to the name is N, yeah, from New Zealand, and she work very proper and very perfect according to me. So the Emerald Journal accept this native proofread. And for the master student, also maybe for the PhD student in Indonesia, some of university also give you obligation to submit in the National Accredited Journal. Yeah, maybe almost the journal in the economic and accounting field is on the Sinta 2 level. Yeah, so we can go. This for just only for the example, and actually there are still many others, but because I was dealing with this journal, and I have experience much to submit paper on this journal, so I just mentioned this 4. And actually still there are many other national accredited journal to maybe to add your requirement when you submitted a paper for your professorship. Totally you need 450, or if you from lector kepala or associate professor, for A you need 202.5 credit for the research. So you can decide one from the International Reputable Journal. Also you can add from the National Accredited Journal or other international journal that of course we are considering about the mark or the total marking of the journal. So you will complete, for example, 2002.5 for associate professor who is in 4A level, and of course would be less if you are 4B or 4C already. Okay, thank you so much. I think I just give additional topic that before already explained in detail by Prof. Omar about how to submit the paper in International Journal, how to create ideas, how to find ideas to make novelty and etc. We will be discussing later in the discussion section. Thank you so much, Rian. Time back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Eko Suyono, for the explanation. Okay, because we have limited time, so it's a time to move to the discussion session. Prof. Farooque and Prof. Eko. We already have some questions, but I will try to summarize it. The first stage, it will be discussion about literature review because some of the questions related to the literature review. The first question, it's come from the Mrs. Uswatan. She asked about the getting idea from the literature review. The problem is when we are trying to read a lot of article, sometimes we cannot manage it effective and efficiently. Sometimes like we're reading a lot and then sometimes we get lost, or sometimes we have idea, or I remember about this argument, but where is it? And then sometimes it gets lost where we have to find it, where we have to read again the article. And sometimes when we already read a lot of article and then write it down, and then we read it again. Oh, this article I have read it before. Why it read it again? So maybe about this problem, Professor Farooque, related to the how to manage the review idea. It's related to the also Mr. Anton, because Mr. Anton asked about how to find novelty in research, especially maybe he asked about how to find novelty when we read, when we search from the literature, how we find novelty. And also it's related also with the Miss Henny Puji Astuti. She asks about how to get the latest issue for research. So it's related each other. So it can be accepted in reputable journal, or it can be recognized. I mean, the issue is recognized by the reputable journal. So that's the first question related to the literature review. Maybe Prof. Farooque and Prof. Eko can have an answer, please. Sorry, Prof. Farooque, I think it's still mute. Yeah.
Okay, so shall I go first?
Yes, Prof.
Of
Omar,
course.
please.
Okay, so I think there are several ways you can do it. quickly, smoothly, without repetition. Okay. First thing is when you have a certain research interest in a particular area, I think then you can search uh, relevant journals only. Okay, so where this type of research is published, and then you search for some keywords, because you can't go for each and every issue of that particular journal. Okay, that's very time consuming. So best way is to search for some of the keywords in your area of research. Okay, and then you get I think at least a few journals from that particular a few papers from that particular journals. Okay, and then you see the title. If something is make interest to you, then you can download it. Okay, so when you read a particular journal from the downloads you make, then I think it's important you check the reference of that particular paper. So that reference will give you a plenty of resources from this particular journal or maybe from other journals. And in most of the cases, you'll see similar type of research coming from the other journals that this particular paper is referencing. I think that's a easy way to go for literature review. Okay, so if you check the reference list of a particular paper you read or you download, then you get other relevant resources there. Okay, and then you can select and choose, okay, which one you are going to review. Okay, another way is searching by author's name. In some cases, in our research motivation, we rely one or two or maybe 3-4 key journals. Okay, and then we search those authors name if they have any other papers, okay, in other journals. So searching by I think author's name is also a good way to reduce your search time in literature review. I think question arises about novelty. Novelty, there are different ways of uh, you're making your research a novel one. First thing is I mentioned about literature review. Okay, for example, recently I come up with a research paper uh, regarding CEO marital status. Okay, CEO marital status and dividend policy. Just this is the title, and then it's a very big paper published in a very good journal. Okay, so this strike me to do similar type of research in other area, keeping CPA marital status or slightly change it. Okay, for example, why not I search female CEO marital status and, for example, earnings management. Okay, why not I search for uh, like married CEO, whether female or male. Okay, and stock liquidity. So that, but you are doing research totally different field, for example, but you keep the idea, one of the ideas, maybe not your own innovation, but you are not imitate it, you are making a relevant one similar to that. Okay, so is it clear? So that's how we can generate new ideas through literature review if we come up with something interesting and innovative, okay, in the existing research. Okay, and then I think there is another question in this line. I can't remember regarding literature review.
Okay, I think there is also another question for the literature review. One of the problem of Indonesian scholar is we do not have an access to the resources. So it's so difficult to get the reputable journal or reputable article that where it is the only way to have a very good research, we have to access a very good journal also. is it possible to have collaboration with foreigner to get the access of the reputable journal, Professor? Because sometimes that's one of the problem in our scholar, because we do not have access on that one. Even the pirate website, the most famous pirate website, the Sci-Hub, now starting cannot access to the new issue like 2022. So is it possible to have this kind of collaboration with the foreign scholar for this resources access?
I think it's possible. That's why I mentioned about the importance of collaboration. So collaboration will provide you, different types of resource access, and one of them is latest journal publications in different journals, and basically it depends on the subscription of the university library. Okay, so if you do not have a subscription of a particular journal in your university library or other resources you have around you, you can easily check with your collaborators. Okay, so maybe inside your country in another university or outside the country, and subscription may vary. We all know it depends on the university's funding in research or funding in library collection. Okay, but it's a good way to check with your collaborator, uh, and I often use it. Okay, so if there is something I'm missing in my university library, then I check with my collaborators if they have access. So I have lots of collaboration in some other countries like UK, USA, uh, China, uh, and then of course New Zealand, uh, the close neighbor, and also, yeah, as you said, eco. So Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Thailand, so maybe a few more. But I check with some of the colleagues working in a good university. Okay, because universities in the Western world usually they have more access to resources. Uh, so I think you can check that with collaborators. And there is another way. I think you can set journal alert system. In some journals, they're free of cost. Okay, they don't charge. Okay, so in those journals, you can set an alert system. Okay, in your own name and email. So whenever there is an issue coming up, then you'll get alert. So you can see the list of publications. If something is in your interest, then you can go and download it if it is free. The other way is if you publish in some reputable journals, okay, then they also provide their latest issues to you. For example, I'm getting regular uh, latest issues list on a regular basis from some of the journals where I published my paper previously. One is Journal of Business Ethics. I don't know whether I mentioned it or not. Journal of Business Ethics is a multidisciplinary outlet, okay, where you can publish your accounting journal, yeah, and other discipline journals, paper also publishable. But I receive regular, update from them whenever they publish a particular issue, and then I can see if there is any relevant article there, okay, in my own area of research interest. So that can be another way to get access to the latest papers.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the answer, Professor Farooque. Professor Akbar, do you want to add some answer also about this discussion?
Prof. Omar, there is one interesting questions in the list that some scientific journal, they require authors to cite the reference from those journal. So
Yeah.
according to you, how about this case?
Yeah, I think I mentioned briefly that it is important you refer some of the papers from the journal you are submitting. Yeah, so and I have similar experience of getting feedback from the reviewer or even from the associate editor. Sometimes associate editor mentioned or provide a list of of journals that I need to cite in my paper. Okay, so there are two reasons of that. First of all, it creates an impression that you're not searching properly that particular journal, even though you are trying to publish in that journal. The other thing is the impact factor of the journal itself. If you cite some of the papers from that particular journal, that will improve, the impact factor of that particular journal. So that's why they encourage, okay, to cite so like Asian Review of Accounting. Okay, this is one journal. Sometimes they provide that type of advice, and then I can't remember another journal from Asia Pacific that is also Q1, International Journal of Accounting, and what's that? I have to check. Yeah, they also provide a list. But in some, I think it's a good idea to cite some of the papers from the journal you are targeting. Okay, so that satisfy the reviewers and then editors of the journal. Okay, but don't take any paper that is not relevant. Okay, so take, even though in their list you may find some of the papers may not relevant in your research, so you don't need to cite all of them. Okay, it's basically, I think you can cite like 5 to 10% from your total referencing list, or maybe, yeah, 5-6 papers maximum, not more. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. We still have some questions, so I will try to.
This
Okay,
one, Rian.
so from
one interesting question I saw there.
Mhm.
For example, for multidisciplinary research from different fields. So sometime maybe it is confusing whether actually still in our particular discipline of one journal or not. So one question is raising this issue.
Yeah, I think this is very important issue. Yeah, when you go for multidisciplinary research, or you involve others, co-researchers from other disciplines. Okay, but one thing I think you should be clear about: the aim of your research, the core area of your research, or the prime focus of your research. Okay, so make it clear to your collaborators, and then if they come up some other new ideas, you can embed those ideas in the paper. Okay, if possible. Yeah, so do not compromise the scope of the paper. Okay, so you have some scope of your research. Okay, so you don't need to lose that scope by incorporating additional elements from other discipline. However, other disciplinary aspect may be contributory, maybe add value. For example, we sometimes we go for robustness test. Okay, so in robustness test we can look for in other disciplinary areas. Okay, and then we get those tests in the paper. So that's how I think you are not losing your the core element or aspects of the paper, but at the same time, you can include other ideas from other discipline. Okay, but one thing we need to be clear about the consistency. Okay, about your uh, testing of other disciplinary areas, the items that may be proposed by your co-researcher or collaborators, but you need uh, a robust discussion with them. Okay, so if those ideas are contributory, then you can consider them, okay, to include in the paper. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Farooque, for the explanation. I think we have still have question. So it come from the Mr. Dedi Kurniawan. He asked about the about the critical incident technique, Professor. So CIT, critical incident technique, can it use in accounting research? Because mostly trend behavior accounting rarely used in this technique. Is it can use state of the art in research? Mr. Dedi, maybe you want to explain directly if you want to, because it's new for me also. What is critical incident technique?
Critical incident technique, yeah.
Mr. Dedi, are you here in the room? Maybe you want to explain? No. Oh, sorry, I think he is out of the room.
Okay,
So
I heard
yeah.
about this, critical incident technique, but I have no knowledge about it. Yeah, so
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah,
whether it
because
is.
it's also new for me. I don't know what is critical incident technique. So
Yeah,
let's
if we
move
get
to other question.
if we get some examples, okay,
Yeah,
what does it mean, critical incident technique? Then yeah, we
yeah.
can think about
So
it.
Mr.
Yeah.
Dedi, if you want to give example or more elaboration about what is critical incident technique, so maybe we can start to find the answer. So let's move to the another question from Mr. Sunwip. Permission to ask, is it necessary to publish reputable journal on Q1 and Q2? For the bibliography, it has to be from journal publishing on the web of science. Maybe what he means is if we want to publish in the Q1 or Q2 reputable journal, is it mandatory to have the reference from the Q1 and Q2 also, or what about this one, Professor?
In my view, it's not compulsory. You have to refer Q1 or Q2 journals or papers from those journals. The important thing is your area of research, okay, and what other research are available, okay, in existing literature, okay.
Okay,
But
thank you.
if you find any such Q1 or Q2 papers, why not you refer it? That will strengthen, your paper. So then the reviewers, the editors will get an idea that you are aware about a good paper in a good journal. Okay, but it's not mandatory, but it's a good idea to incorporate if you find any such paper in Q1 or Q2.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Maybe this is the last question from myself. How to start to write an article, Professor? Is it you choose the journal first and then you write something, or you write something and then find the journal? Which one
Oh,
first? We have to start.
can you repeat the question?
So how the best way or the easiest way to start to write an article? Should we choose the journal first, maybe Journal of Business Ethics, and then we write something there and then find an issue and then we write something from the journal for the journal, or we do the research first and then we find the journal that's suitable with our research? Which one is the
I
best
think
way?
the
Best way
second
to
one,
start?
because it's your research, okay, your research interest, okay, so it's better if you find journal based on your research interest, okay. So and then you choose relevant journals. But how can you get some ideas in your area of research? I think there are several ways of getting it. So literature review is one thing, but in addition to that, you may consider some other thing. For example, sometimes we sit with other colleagues and then we chat, okay, about research, about what we are doing in research. So that can bring some new ideas, who knows, okay. Sometimes we call it brainstorming, okay. So again, in a group, not only all researchers, maybe with students, PhD students, okay, and other colleagues from other discipline, okay, you can sit and then you can go for some brainstorming session, okay. So that can bring some new ideas, okay. And also attending other disciplines, seminar, conferences, also important, okay. Something you may get from there, okay. So So in a faculty, if you have other discipline in your faculty, then why not you attend their seminars or any other conference organized by the university? Okay, so that also help you, to not only in your research but also to become aware what is going on in other disciplinary areas. Okay, and that will help you to create collaboration, multidisciplinary collaboration. In fact, nowadays it, it is getting more important that you do research in a multidisciplinary areas. Okay, so not only in your accounting. So if you see the accounting research nowadays, it includes other disciplines. Okay, I already mentioned, yeah, some of them. Economics and finance is closely embedded in accounting research, but we mentioned about climate. So climate is not purely an accounting research, but you see some relevance nowadays. Okay, and then technology, disruptive technology. So those are uh, uh, easily incorporated in accounting research. Okay, so get an idea from different sources and then look for relevant journals, search for some keywords. Okay, and then you find some of the journals and then check their reference list. I think that's the best way to conduct your literature review at a minimum time.
Okay, thank you very much for the insight, Professor Farooque. And Professor Eko, do you have something to add in the discussion?
Yeah, I think everything already answered clearly by Prof. Omar, so we can proceed to the next step, Rian.
Okay, okay, Prof. Eko, thank you very much for the insight and discussion in this fine session. Thank you very much for the time, Prof. Farooque and Prof. Eko, to this session. So as a appreciation, so we committee prepare the certificate of appreciation for the two speaker, for the Professor Umar Farooque and also Professor Eko Suyono. Maybe the operator can share the certificate. So the committee preparing the certificate for both speaker, and yeah, this is the certificate for as appreciation as a speaker in this session, and for the associate professor Dr. Omar Al Farooque, and then the second for Professor Eko Suyono. Yeah, this is the second certificate of appreciation from us, and thank you very much for the time and for the insight and for the discussion and presentation. We are really happy have both of you here, and we learned a lot about this discussion, and we have to start again to write and publish again. Thank you very much for the time, and then all the time I give back to the MC, please.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Farooque and Prof. Eko.
Take picture first after this.
Yeah, the MC will lead the take a picture before the end session, Professor. So MC, the time is yours.
Okay, so finally, I would like to thank the speaker, Mr. Alman and Mr. Eko Suyono, and also Mr. Ascaryan for being our moderator today. So please give applause to deliver our energy to say thank you. Okay, guys. So please fill out the registration or attendance link to get your certificate, and your certificate will be shared as email for you as soon as possible. So before we ended our session today, please open your camera because we have the documentation session and it will be briefed by the operator.
Open camera, please.
Okay, so maybe I will count 1, 2, 3, and the operator will take the pictures. For the slide 1, 1, 2, 3. And the next, 1, 2, 3. And for the next, again, 1, 2, 3. Next, 1, 2, 3. For the next slide, 1, 2, 3. So for the next last slide, 1, 2, 3. Okay, once again, we would like to thank about your participation and also contribution to keep this agenda goes well. Please give applause to the speaker and to us. Okay, so once again, don't forget to fill in the attendance link and your certificate will be sent as soon as possible you fill it out. I think that's enough from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you so much, Prof. Omar, for your attendance.
Yeah, okay. I thank everyone for attending this session. Okay, thank you.
And we hope we can continue on the next coming agenda, Prof. Omar.